Hi everybody. Okay, so I watched a movie this weekend. The Truth About Jane was made in 2000 and it was on Lifetime and probably on some other channels, but I saw it on Lifetime when it first came out. Um, I think it's interesting because it's a LGBTQ, you know, movie, and um, back in those days, there weren't that many of them. So now it's becoming more common, even popular, I'd say. But okay. So this one stars Stalker Channing and Ellen Muth in the main roles, and then Alicia Logano as her girlfriend, as the girlfriend in the movie. Okay, so Ellen plays Jane, a high school student, 16 years old. So, like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And she and her mother have a great bond, and but almost too close because apparently, story is it took them forever to have a child, so they held their children really close. And uh, then Jane felt like the spotlight was always on her, and she always had to live up to whatever expectations they had. And their expectations were high. I'd say too high um, for anyone, especially a teenager. Um, so she starts high school, and she apparently she always felt like she was different, but she couldn't explain how or why. And she meets a group of girls, and they expect like they like boys, and they expect her to like boys. And there's the most popular boy in the class, and he likes her like that, and she doesn't really care. So then they start making comments about we have to jumpstart your hormones, stuff like that, and that you're not normal. So then the trope or whatever of normal versus abnormal starts. Okay. Then in English class, she meets a girl who is a transfer student um, from somewhere. They don't say where exactly, but you get the sense that the girl is older than her years. And then a little further on in the movie, you realize why. And it's because her mother's a single mother, and she blames the daughter for her husband leaving her. So apparently, every time she sees her daughter, she thinks about her husband, and then the feelings that she has toward her husband get transferred onto her daughter. So yeah, um, and we hear because the girl's name is Taylor in the movie. Um, so Jane goes over to Taylor's house to check on her because she hasn't been in school for a couple days, right? And she knocks on the door. Taylor answers, but she's reluctant to let her in or to really talk because she knows that her mother's in a mood, so she doesn't want to upset anything, right? Okay, so then the door closes and Jane is walking away, but she hasn't walked away entirely yet. And we hear a slap, and presumably from inside the house. And then, um, I guess Ellen in narration says, at that moment, I thank God for my mother because at least, her mother never laid hands on her. Okay, so then further on, we find out that they have feelings for each other, and Jane just doesn't want to be weird, different, you know. So she kind of tries to fight those feelings, but it doesn't work, of course. And then their relationship gets even deeper and everything. And then what happens is Jane freaks out, breaks up with her, or says she can't do it anymore. And then um, she writes her, Jane writes Taylor a letter, and then they get back together. But in their house, in Jane's house, uh, Taylor and Jane are kissing. Her brother sees her kissing a girl, and the rumors, or not even rumors, she gets called a lesbian just outright by everyone, you know. So not only, cover blown, I guess, or outed, but also made fun of by everyone. And then the remainder of the movie is both Jane and her mother's name is Janice too, which I think is a little strange. I mean, you name the child Jane and the mother Janice. Okay, not a stretch. Um, so okay, it's they have to come to terms with who she is and all that, and then her mother has to come to try to accept her, and it takes forever. What feels like forever, because I'm like, I was watching it and I said, "Wow, really? It took that long?" And at that point, at the end of the movie, the very end of the movie, um, of course, there are a lot of twists and turns and stuff, but you know, at the very end of the movie, they go to a pride event, and some of the members of P Flag, which are parents and friends of gays and lesbians, you know, so they're all at the event, but Jane wants her mother there. And in the very last couple of minutes, you see Dr. Channing starting to walk up, but she's really scared, but she's there. So the point of that is that it may take a while, but people accept you, you know, for who you are, who you really are. But okay. So at this point, I'm gonna give a little my own critique of it, and that'll be the end of it. Okay. So when first I watched it when it came out, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then now, 25 years later, I was thinking, like I said, I can't believe it took the whole movie for her mother to come to grips with who she is. I mean, when someone tells you who they are, well, believe them, but it's not even that. Just allow them to be that. If they say that, then you should accept it for what it is. And and I feel a little bad for the parents because apparently I'm not aware of this because I don't have kids myself, okay? But you have expectations for your kids in the future to grow up, get married, and have kids and all that other stuff, right? So they had to come to grips with she wasn't gonna marry a boy or a man. You know what I mean? I guess that was the biggest thing. But it's kind of interesting too because now I think that if they did it again, um, it would have been received completely differently than it was. And also, um, for a time there, everybody was married. Everybody was able to marry whoever they want. So, so yeah. But I think it was, I think it was good for me to see it with a 25 year difference because my opinions were totally different than the first time I watched it. I mean, I guess I was still upset at the parents for not just accepting her, but even now, with the way the everything has changed, I really can't believe, you know, that. So, okay, bye everybody.